The heat should have consumed them by now. Meshach's breath hitched, his grip crushing Shadrach's wrist. His other hand reached blindly for Abednego, who clutched him like a man drowning. The flames curled around them, closing them off from the world, except for the hundreds of eyes watching, waiting for them to vanish into smoke. "I can't lose you," Meshach gasped, his forehead pressing against Shadrach's. "Not like this." Shadrach's fingers found his jaw, tilting his face up. "We are here," he murmured, "together until the end." Abednego wrapped an arm around them both, holding on like it could stop the fire from taking them. "I would burn 1,000 times before I let go." Meshach shuddered, pressing into them, feeling not the heat, but only their warmth. The world had cast them out, sentenced them to burn. But in this moment, surrounded by fire and eyes that had never understood, they were all that existed, and they would not let go. The Bible speaks of devotion, of faith that defied a king, of 3 men who stood together and walked unscathed from fire. But what if that is only part of the story? What if history buried their truth beneath duty and righteousness? The Bible calls them brothers in faith. But what if they were more than brothers? What if their love, not just their defiance, was the real reason they stood together? Because love does not bow. This is their story, the one the fire could not burn away. They were not chosen. They were taken. The night they arrived in Babylon, Meshach could not stop shaking. His name, his home, gone. His body stiffened at every unfamiliar sound, every heavy footstep in the corridor. The scent of foreign spices, the weight of chains recently removed, it was too much. Shadrach found him curled on his mat, breath uneven, shoulders trembling. Without a word, he knelt, pressing a warm hand to the back of Meshach's neck. A touch meant to steady, to anchor. "We are still here." Across the room, Abednego watched. He had seen men broken by captivity before, seen spirits crushed under the weight of loss. But this was something different. This was a bond forming in silence, a promise made in the stillness of night. Meshach exhaled, turning into Shadrach's warmth. Abednego moved closer, his back pressing against them both. The world outside was cruel and foreign. But here, in the hush of their breaths, there was something sacred. That night, Meshach fell asleep against Shadrach's shoulder. Abednego's hand brushed his arm, lingering. No words were spoken, but the choice had already been made. In the palace, they walked in unison, their steps aligned without thought. The other men whispered, but the 3 of them, Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego, moved as one. They were never apart, never more than an arm's reach from each other. They were known for their brilliance, their wisdom, but it was their closeness that drew the most scrutiny. At night, in the privacy of their quarters, the walls fell away. Meshach lay with his head on Abednego's lap, Shadrach tracing absent circles on Meshach's arm. Their touches were not rare, not here, not where no one could see, where no one could rip them apart. Here, they were not exiles, not captives, not warriors, they were simply them. "They watch us," Abednego murmured once, fingers combing through Meshach's hair. "Like we are something to be studied." Shadrach exhaled, shifting closer. "Let them. They will never understand." Meshach turned, brushing his fingers over Abednego's wrist. A fleeting touch, barely there, but enough. Abednego exhaled, his grip firming on Meshach's shoulder, steadying him. Across the dimly lit room, Shadrach's eyes met theirs, something unspoken passing between them, something understood without words. "They can take our names," Meshach whispered. "They cannot take this." Shadrach leaned in, his forehead brushing Abednego's, his fingers lacing through Meshach's. "Then let them try. They belong to Babylon by force, but they belong to each other by choice." The king's decree spread like wildfire. Bow to the golden statue or be cast into the furnace. There was no room for hesitation, no space for compromise. That night, the 3 of them sat in silence. Shadrach traced a line in the dust beside him, his jaw clenched. "What if we did bow, just enough for them to look away?" Meshach turned sharply. "You do not mean that." Abednego placed a hand on Shadrach's knee, steadying him. If we bow, we become something we are not. Shadrach exhaled, leaning into their touch. Then we do not bow. The words settled between them, binding them in a way nothing else had. They were not afraid to burn, not if it meant standing as one. The world would never understand, but that did not matter. Shadrach took Meshach's hand. Abednego covered them both with his own. Together, no matter what comes. Together, they echoed. The music swelled. The golden statue loomed over them, an unshakable symbol of power. One by one, the people fell to their knees, faces pressed to the earth. But the three of them stood. Shadrach inhaled sharply. This is it. Meshach looked around at the sea of bowed bodies. His pulse thundered in his ears. They expect us to fall. Abednego's voice was steady. Then they do not know us. The whispers had already followed them through the palace. Their closeness, their unity, their unwillingness to be molded into Babylon's image. Now, standing before the statue, they made it undeniable. The king's men turned, eyes narrowing. They did not bow, and they did not waver. Shadrach glanced at Meshach, at Abednego. No words passed between them, but the choice had already been made. A choice not of defiance, but of love. The soldiers moved toward them, and they did not kneel. The king's voice was soft, almost gentle. Bow. Shadrach swallowed hard, his throat dry. He could feel Meshach's gaze on him, unwavering. Abednego stood just behind them, so close his breath warmed the back of Shadrach's neck. They had never been apart, never faced a moment where everything could be taken in an instant. Meshach's fingers found his wrist, tightening just slightly, grounding him. If we bow, we are lost. The weight of expectation pressed down on them. The murmurs of the court, the eyes watching, waiting. The guards gripping their spears, already knowing how this would end. Abednego's voice, quiet but certain. Together, no matter what. Shadrach took a slow breath, the finality of it sinking into his bones. The choice was not about defiance or rebellion. It was about them, what they were, what they refused to let the world take. He raised his chin. We will not bow. The king's expression darkened. Then you will burn. Meshach turned to him, something fierce and steady in his eyes. Then we burn together. The words settled between them, an unbreakable vow. The king's jaw tightened. He gestured to the guards. So be it. The roar of the flames was deafening. A living thing that raged around them, yet they did not move. The heat pressed in, wrapping around their bodies, a force meant to consume. But Meshach only felt the press of Shadrach's arm against his, the firm grip of Abednego's hand at his back. The world had forsaken them. The king, the court, the people who had once called them wise and loyal. Now they watched with wide eyes, waiting for them to disappear into the inferno. But they were not afraid. Not of fire. Not of death. Shadrach turned, his forehead resting against Meshach's temple. You are here. Meshach nodded. Always. Abednego's fingers curled tighter into the fabric of their robes. We are one. Then, through the fire, a figure appeared. Not a soldier, not a man of the court, but something else, something greater. He walked through the flames as if they were nothing, stepping into the space between them, looking at them not with judgment, but with knowing. The figure did not speak, but his presence settled like a whisper against their skin. He saw them, truly saw them. Their love, their unity, their defiance, their truth. The flames raged, but inside their circle, there was only warmth. Only the fierce, unshakable love that had carried them through every trial, every whisper, every moment the world had tried to tear them apart. The fourth figure stood with them, and when the smoke cleared, they still stood, whole and unbroken. They stepped out into the stunned silence of the court. The flames had not touched them, their robes unburned, their skin untouched. The world had expected ashes. Instead, they stood whole, together. The murmurs rippled through the crowd, fear and awe tangled in every whisper. The king's face was pale, his hand clenched at his side as if he could grasp what had happened. But no one dared speak of the fourth figure, the presence who had walked beside them, seen them as they truly were, and left them changed. Meshach looked to Shadrach, then to Abednego. The fire had revealed what words never could. Love had bound them long before the flames, and it had carried them through. Shadrach's fingers brushed against Meshach's, a fleeting touch, an unspoken promise. Abednego exhaled slowly, their breath steady, their hands still trembling. The fire had tested them, and they had not bowed. Some love stories are never spoken aloud. They exist in glances, in held hands, in the quiet silence between moments. Some are tested by fire and survive. They call it a story of faith, of defiance in the face of trial. But is that all it is? Or is this one of those stories the Bible left for us to figure out on our own? What do you think?